All right. Let's call this meeting to order. Roll call. Any other business to come for us for the work session? Do I have a motion to adjourn the work session?
So moved.
All right, let's call the other meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kurt Smith. Here. Gustafson.
Here.
Perry.
Here.
J.R. Smith.
Here.
Brabner. Mayor.
I am here. Our invocation pledge will be led by Councilmember J.R. Smith. If you please rise.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another gorgeous day you've given us today and another week that we can enjoy the world that you have out here for us. Thank you for the firemen and police officers and first responders we have here locally that take care of us and that let us enjoy the way of life we have here in Spanish Fort. And please look over our military that let us in the United States do what we have to do here as a free country. Look over us and help us make the best decisions for our citizens here in Spanish Fort tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ask for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, work session March 4, 2024, and the regular meeting March 4, 2024. Are there any corrections? Not, stand approved as written. Committee reports, Ms. Gaines.
No further report, sir.
Chief Barber.
No report, Mayor.
Chief Few.
No report.
Shannon.
Real quick, I would like to let everybody know there are new stop signs north and southbound at Spanish Main and Navy Lane. So beware.
There will be more coming on Southern Way and Yankee Trove. We decided not to put those in until they completed the repaving project over there and incorporated all at the same time. Thank you, sir. Eric, you have anything? Open up the floor for public participation if you'd like to address the council. Now's your chance. All right, moving forward to announcements. Saturday, March 23rd, this coming Saturday, Ball and Pops will be performing a free concert here at the community center. Bring your tailgate chairs and join the concert outside by the pond. Aren't they having an art show with that one, Becky, or not? It's the next one? Okay. On Saturday, March 31st, the city of Spanish Fort will partner with former Alabama and NFL star Wallace Gilberry to present an Easter egg hunt at Integrity Park. Public is invited to begin arriving at noon. The Easter egg hunt will occur at 2:30. Free food, prizes, drinks, along with over 10,000 Easter eggs. So. Thank you for the correction. That's that damn keyboard again, isn't it, Becky? Congressman Jerry Curl sent out a survey to Spanish Fort residents asking for feedback on your postal service. Please check your email inbox. Fill out the survey. We have hard copies here. I will, and I forward this, I believe, to all the council members. I did get a response from the U.S. Postal Service about my request for a kiosk here at City Hall, of which I was turned down. I have reached out to our Congressman-elect and really was expecting to be in Washington this week, but that didn't happen. So I want to fill him in on everything and his staff to proceed to continue our push for a fire station. Post office. Yeah, that too. Fire stations. Fire stations. I had it on my mind for the last month. Yeah, post office.
Washington, D.C. to get you that station.
You don't mind asking for me?
Sorry, guys. Saturday, April 13th, Spanish Fort Junior City Council will conduct a City Serve Day from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Damn, well, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Junior Council will lead volunteers and clean the roadside along with Jimmy Faulkner. Participants should meet at 8 a.m. at the high school gym and will be directed to a section for cleanup activities. The city will provide vests, disposable gloves, garbage bags, as well as bottled water for the volunteers. On Sunday, April 14th, Mobile Pops will be performing here at the Community Center at 6 p.m. Fame, Fine Arts, Music, and Entertainment will have an Art Guild show prior to the concert from 5 to 6 p.m. A lot of events coming at us here in the next couple of months. It's springtime. Of course, Saturday, April 27th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., the city is hosting the 14th Annual Delta Woods and Water Expo Family Day. The expo will be held at Five Rivers Delta Resource Center on the Causeway. Lots of outdoor activities, including fly fishing, geocaching, demonstrations, turkey calling, archery, and many other activities. Admission is free. And remind y'all, the 2 days prior to that are field trip days for our schools. Spanish Fort Elementary, Rockwell, Stonebridge, Silver Hill, I think is the other one, that will be participating for the 2 days prior. So would appreciate everybody coming out. It's a great event. We'll have over 2,500 people there. So it is always a good event, and thank the committee for all their hard work on that. I do want to take the opportunity that we had the fire annual dinner, awards dinner this past weekend. Want to make sure we officially as a council let these gentlemen know we appreciate them. Professional Firefighter of the Year, Mr. Tim Cooper, and a Volunteer Fireman of the Year, Mr. Steve Lemoyne. So thank y'all for what you do. Under old business, there is none. Under new business, we have swearing in of some fire department, Mr. Jonathan Ford and Daniel S. Hazier. If you'll please come forward. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate y'all coming on board. As we do with our police, of course, a little different. I'm going to throw a little twist at you, Chief. I'm going to ask y'all to go up and introduce yourself to the city council. I usually say a punchline with the police, but I can't think of one for the fire department other than put at the fire if they have one, or if they call you. So welcome aboard. Glad to have you. I'd like to present ordinance number 658, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1994-11 of the City of Spanish Fort to amend the levy or privilege of license tax on persons, firms, or corporations in the business of selling in the retail tangible personal property in the city of Spanish Fort or within its police jurisdiction, providing for the collection of the said taxes and providing penalties for violation of said ordinance. That's a mouthful to say we're going to hold this item over for the next meeting. Is some pending litigation, not litigation, but some pending ordinances up in Montgomery, which may change the way we approach this. So unless anybody has any issues, we'll hold this one over to the next meeting, which will be on April 1st, April Fool's Day. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, moving to ordinance number 659, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1995-30 of the city of Spanish Fort, providing for the levy of assessment of a tax on the leasing or renting of tangible personal property. Just like the ordinance before that, I'm going to request that we hold this one over to the April 1st meeting, because here again, there's some pending opportunities in Montgomery. Any discussion on that item? Just like the first two, orders number 660, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 192-2003 of the city of Spanish Fort, providing and levying a tax on cigarettes, tobacco products, and rolling papers. This also is pending some discussion in Montgomery. I'd like to hold that over to the April 1st meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to present ordinance number 661, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 1995-29 of the city of Spanish Fort, providing for the levy or use of an excise tax against persons, firms, or corporations which use or consume personal property in the city of Spanish Fort, Alabama, or its police jurisdiction, providing for the collection of said taxes. Becky, I believe that's also part of the same thing, isn't it? Yeah, okay. That's the fourth one that I'd like to hold over to the April 1st meeting.
This one down here, the next one after that, I accidentally put March.
This one?
Yeah.
It says March 4th, so I'm assuming you mean April 1st, okay.
I did change the date to the previous meeting.
That cut and paste don't always work, does it? All right, moving on to ordinance number 662, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the city of Spanish Fort. Let me get to that. 661, sir. $664, this is changing zoning for. Damn. 63. I got it. I'll get there. It has been a crazy day. All right, David, I'll let you just jump right on in there for 662.
Thank you. Sorry I'm late. Thank you. Ordinance number 662 would amend the zoning ordinance of the city of Spanish Fort by adding section 7.6, parking requirements for all districts, to include in the public assembly section H for mini golf courses, 1 space for each hole plus 4 spaces per 18 holes plus 1 space per 2 employees, and then I for go-karts and go-kart tracks, basically the same, 1 space for each go-kart, 4 spaces for each 18 go-karts plus 1 space for each 2 employees. When we did our research at the Planning Commission level, we discovered that the city of Gulf Shores used this standard for many golf courses, and they have a significant number of these courses down there, so we felt like if it worked for them, it would probably work for us. Didn't really find a standard for go-karts, but that same ratio made sense based on car trips, the number of people participating. We also consulted with a developer that is proposing to use this in the future for an expansion, and that is at Eastern Shore Lanes, and they said that they felt like that was a fair standard as well. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing and forwards a positive recommendation for this change in zoning classification to create those parking space requirements for mini golf courses and go-kart tracks.
Thank you, Mr. Connor, and welcome. Glad to have you here. This is being introduced tonight. It will be held over to your April 1st We'll have a public hearing on this item at that meeting. Any comments on this item? Moving on to ordinance number 663, 2024. This is being introduced tonight also, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the city of Spanish Fort, changing zoning classification of certain property located on Battleship Parkway, Spanish Fort, Alabama, and bearing tax parcel number 5-31-08-27-000-007.000 from R1 to B3. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this piece of property is located on the causeway just south of the old trader site on Battleship Parkway and east, on the south side east of the Oyster House in Bluegill. The property owner has requested that the property be rezoned from R1 to B3, General Business District, for a couple of reasons. One is they believe a business district zoning would be more appropriate in the future if they were to try and develop the property, but they are also trying to anticipate the construction of the bridge in the future and want to position themselves to be a laydown yard if deemed necessary for that site. We informed them that it would require additional amendments to the zoning ordinance, which the Planning Commission will be working on as that bridge project begins to move forward. And whether or not this site would ultimately be appropriate would be a determination made at that time. But they did ask to proceed with the rezoning request. The Planning Commission held a public hearing, and I made the changes on this. They asked from R1 to B3. In the second whereas paragraph, the Planning Commission actually made a recommendation that it be zoned to B2 instead of B3, so we'll make that change. But because the notice and the application was for B3, we left it as B3. The zoning ordinance does allow for the city council to do a more restrictive zoning classification. So if you don't think B3 is appropriate after the public hearing and you agree with the appropriate zoning classification would be B2, then you can name it and rezone it to B2.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any discussion from the council?
Please,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
please remind me, I mean, I don't know what goes into B2 versus a B3, and I don't have a laptop to be able to pull it up. Can you give me some guidance on what can be in a B2 that can't be in a B3 or vice versa?
B3 is, again, a more general business district. It would allow everything that's allowed in B1 and B2. B3 would normally allow also convenience stores, retail stores, restaurants, gas station repairs, those kind of things. B2 is a little more limited. You do allow restaurants, but in certain instances, it has to be with Planning Commission approval. You allow office space, those kind of things. So in the past, to do away with things like gasoline dispensing stations, we have zoned B2 in order to avoid those uses. Now, there's one more overlay on the causeway that's affected here, and that's the flood damage prevention ordinance. You all made some additional requirements that in the flood zone, you can't have gasoline dispensing. And so, it's a little more restrictive on the causeway, even in a B2 or B3. But what everybody looked at was, one, he didn't really have a proposed use that he wanted to make of the property. He just knew he felt like it should be B2 or B3. I think, y'all have to help me, Kurt and Mayor, but I think on the north side where you have the Oyster House and Bluegill, I think those were zoned B2, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And so the Planning Commission felt that on this island in the causeway that there was more B2 than anything else, and that was appropriate unless he came forward with a more definite use.
Well, to play off of what Mr. Smith always says, we trust that these people are going to do a B2 use, but if we zone it B3 and he sells the property the next day, what are we faced with? I mean, if he wants a B2, let's give him a B2.
Well, that's the opposite.
I
He
think-
actually was asking for B3,
Yeah, I
and
think you misunderstood.
we're proposing it would be B2 instead, less restrictive. It protects us a little bit more.
More
And keep in mind, really, what they want to do isn't covered by B2 or B3 anyway. He could have just as well left it at R1 to do what he wants to do, because he's going to have special accommodation from us on that eventually, whatever that looks like. Like Mr. Connor said, he hadn't really been terribly specific yet about what they're going to do. So B2, would fit what he wants to do as well as B3 would, I guess is the way I would say it.
Let me say it again, I think I may have inadvertently confused. The property owner has asked that the property be rezoned to B3, which is General Business District. The Planning Commission understands, and as you all understand, in the zoning ordinance, you have a right to zone to a more restrictive classification, even though they asked for it. When the Planning Commission heard the request, in light of the fact that he didn't have a specific use in mind, and the other properties in the general area were B2, they made a recommendation that it be rezoned to B2. For purposes of the notice and the application, we have to state what it is, but staff's recommendation, my recommendation, the Planning Commission recommendation will be that you, if you rezone it at all, that you rezone it to B2, if that makes sense.
That,
Why does it
that
say
does not,
R1 to B3?
Because in the application, that's what he asked for. And the reason I did it that way, and maybe it's wrong on my part, but the reason I did it that way is, let's say we got up here and y'all all disagreed, and you said, no, it really ought to be B3. If I had put B2 there, you can't go up, but you can go down. So that's why we did it that way.
so because of the application, we had to write this that matches the application. But when we get ready to have a motion, we can make the motion for B2, not for B3.
That's correct.
Thank you.
David, I had a question. In the description, you mentioned that it could be a potential laydown yard, and that's one of the things that we discussed was not really the intended purpose. And really, it's only a half an acre, so it's really not much of a potential laydown yard. The other in the description was dispensing gasoline, and we discussed in the work session on gasoline as well.
His reason for doing it is he says that he has a contractor that's doing geotechnical work or other things that want to use that site as their station for boats and shift changes as they're doing sampling and stuff for purposes of the bridge. And we told him that this B2, B3, none of these zoning classifications, with the exception of M1, which he's not getting down there, none of them would allow for that type of use. In order for that use to be available, you all and the Planning Commission will have to create a temporary use or some kind of category in light of the unusual nature of building a $2 billion bridge to allow for those types of uses. And we told him that even if we create that classification, there's no guarantee that your site will be the one we choose or that the state or the federal government wants to use. They may want more of an upland place that has more space. And so we explained all that to him, but he still wanted to go forward with the zoning, and so that's why we're here.
Anybody listening to the classification, I just want some clarification on that because it really is too small to be used for any kind of laydown yard. So just didn't want there to be confusion. Anybody that may see the live stream thinking that is going to be a full-scale laydown yard there.
I mean, he hasn't submitted that. We don't even have a mechanism to allow that to happen. If he submits something in the future, then we'd have to take a look at it. And again, he's not necessarily talking about a full laydown yard like you would think and other things. He's talking about more about finger piers, boats operating, bringing in things, gas dispensing, which are not allowed as we're set up. So.
Okay, any further discussion on 663, 2024? I'd like to announce we'll have a public hearing to be held Monday, April 1st, to hear any comments in opposition to or in favor of the proposed ordinance.
Can I ask a quick question? I know public hearing notices only go out to landowners. Do the restaurants and everything down there own their land, or are they renters, and should they also be included?
I don't know the situation with owners or renters. Isn't it within 300 feet, David? Yes. So I'm just going to speculate that everybody there are owners around 300 feet, which would only be Bluegill, which I know is owned by Mr. Cooper, Oyster House, which is owned by whoever owns them now. The residents own their own houses, so I don't know there's any issues there. And I'm doing it off the top of my head. I don't know about traders. I think it's probably owned by Barbara, whatever her name is.
I'd be surprised. I don't think there's any. Of course, you got to tell the residences, but that right of way is so wide. I'm not sure anybody's within 300 feet.
Yeah, very few folks.
Technically, you might not have very many people there.
In addition to the notices sent out, We publish on our Facebook, our social media, and Facebook, social media, our website, and on 4 bulletin boards when the city council has a,
Plus, we
Public
post signs out there on the site. Okay? Yeah, I know. You're gonna have to be looking quick if you're gonna see it. Any other discussion on 663? Hearing none, I'd like to introduce ordinance number 664, 2024, an ordinance amending ordinance number 5196 of the city of Spanish Fort, extending the rezoning of certain property located at 10284 U.S. Highway 31, Spanish Fort, Alabama, from R1 to B1. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is a piece of property. The property owners requested previously that the property be rezoned from, they've requested the property be rezoned from R1 to B1. And the Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation for this rezoning request.
this is
And,
interesting.
and they've asked that it be extended an additional 12 months from the previous approval. It would expire, it was approved on April 3rd, 2023, and will expire, and they've asked that it be extended for 12 months to April 3, 2025. This property is located adjacent to Eastern Shore Boulevard on Highway 31 and Gulf Coast Drive Trains and the Marathon Station.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Any discussion on this item? It's being introduced tonight and will be on your April 1st agenda. I'd like to present Resolution 1395, 2024, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the city of Spanish Fort and Matthew Jones Engineering LLC. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is a proposed agreement with Matthew Jones Engineering LLC for the purpose of providing improvements for the Spanish Fort Community Center resurfacing project. The proposal is attached as dated January 17, 2024. A copy of the short form agreement is attached as an exhibit to the agreement. The fee schedule is $4,430 for evaluation, $11,425 for planning contract development, $3,000 at time and materials not to exceed $143 an hour, and for construction administration, $6,000 time and materials not to exceed $143,000, and reimbursable expenses of $1,000 for this project. Thanks.
So if I'm reading all this and adding all this in my head, that's 15, 18, 24, 25,000, or possible $25,000. What's the cost of this project, Shannon?
About 110 to 120.
Inclusive of this?
No. I've got a problem with this. I would like to hold this item over until I have further discussion, if the council will so allow me to have that conversation. Any issue with that? I'd request that we hold that item over. Moving to Resolution 1396, 2024, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Sunset Contracting for repairs at Alder Avenue. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is for repairs at Alder Avenue, 10369 Alder Avenue, based on proposals submitted by Sunset Contracting, Inc. A copy of the proposal is attached to Exhibit 1 for mobilization, removal of asphalt area, and repaving in the amount of $12,725.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. Discussion from the council? It's being introduced tonight, will be on your April 1st agenda. I'd like to introduce Resolution 1397, 2024, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a memorandum of understanding on behalf of Spanish Fort Fire Rescue Department. Ms. Connor?
Mayor, this is a proposed memorandum of understanding related to a fire grant to assist with the purchase of P25 Phase 2 800 megahertz radios. A copy of the proposed agreement is attached to Exhibit 1. This is a multi-party agreement between the City of Spanish Fort Fire Department, the Hold on just one second. I'm a little bit, hold on just one second, man, make sure I've got this is right. Okay, I think the first 3 pages are inadvertently attached. If you'll go to the, next to the last page where it says Memorandum of Understanding, that's the agreement that goes with this document, I believe. And this is a proposed agreement related to the purchase of acquisition of a grant between the Loxley Fire Department, the Daphne Fire Department, the Silver Hill Fire Department, and the Spanish Fort Fire Department. And basically, as part of the grant application process, the city of Spanish Fort has requested for its portion 44 radios to be provided and purchased. The cost per radio is $6,625 for a total cost of $291,500. If the grant is approved, the federal share would be $265,000 with department matching funds in the amount of $26,500. The other departments have also agreed to purchase various quantities or portions of those. We have made some small changes that we have proposed to be made, and you'll see those noted there to make sure that if there's an adjustment in the quantity of radios that are paid for by the grant, we likewise want a reduction in the quantity of matching funds that are applied, and so we wanted to make sure that that was clear from this document.
So to make sure we're on the same pew, the first 1, 2, 3 pages actually belong to a different resolution. Is that accurate?
That's correct. The exhibit to this one begins with the page Memorandum of Understanding, and then there's a signature page, and then the third page is the breakdown of the cost related to that grant.
As Mr. Connor mentioned, well, this is being introduced tonight. There are some changes that we have proposed. I'm awaiting, I sent to them this morning these changes. I'm waiting to hear back from the different agencies if that is acceptable for everybody. Any discussion on this item?
Have we already budgeted for that?
Yes, it's part of the grant process that we did at budget time.
They will start making awards in June, but it could go all the way through September 30th. All the funds have to be allocated by September 30th.
So we did include that in our budget numbers. Right, Chief? I know we did, okay. Any further discussion? Okay, moving to Resolution 1398, 2024, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Spanish Fort and Baldwin County Emergency Communication District doing business as Baldwin 911. Mr. Connor?
Mayor, this is a proposed agreement between the city, the Baldwin County Emergency Communications District, Baldwin County 911, regarding the addressing system, GPS, and other services provided by Baldwin County 911. In the past, this has been done in part by Baldwin County 911, in part by the individual cities. Because of GPS issues, updating of computer software, and trying to better manage and coordinate between the agencies, E911 has requested and has purchased the equipment to take this particular service inside their facility for their work and service. They have requested each of the municipalities, based on their population, to contribute toward the cost of those services, including equipment purchasing, salary, those kind of things. The City of Spanish Fort's portion are allocated to the city based on its population is $8,731, which will be due annually in October of each year.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. This is not an item we budgeted for, but fortunately it takes place in October of next year, so we can roll it over to next year's budget. To me, it's another example of the county passing costs down to the city. Now, I'll say that, you know, you all have charges on your phone bills, that 911 charge. Am I happy about this charge? No, I'm not. Have I questioned the county about it? Yes, I have. But honestly, I don't think I've hit a dead-end street there. So, as y'all know, I will question every cost. And I think this is one we're probably going to have to swallow. Any other discussions being introduced tonight to be on the April 1st agenda? Any other items come forward? I will mention one thing, and Mary, I heard you loud and clear. Becky, if I could get you and Mr. Smith and Mr. Lance to come forward. I know we've talked about this for a while. I would like to get this council on some kind of Chromebook, laptop, something, so we wouldn't have to print all these up, and we could research during the meeting, which you can do on your phone if you really wanted to struggle and look at it on your zoning classifications. It'd be hard to read naturally on your phone, but I agree. We have talked about it. Becky, please, let's get this moving forward to take care of that issue. Anything else to come before the council tonight? Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll be happy to work with Lance and Becky on that.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't ask you.